I'm sitting here in the dim light of my living room, feeling like the weight of the world is pressing down on my chest. I can barely breathe. It's a feeling I know all too well, one I thought I had buried beneath years of resilience and strength. But today, it's back with a vengeance. I can't shake off the memory of my daughter's words, sharp and cutting, echoing in my mind like a haunting melody. "You're too needy, Mom. Why can't you just handle things on your own?" It was a moment that shattered me, a moment that laid bare the crumbling facade of our relationship. I thought I had prepared myself for this conversation, but nothing could have equipped me for the sting of her disappointment. I was reaching out, trying to grasp onto something, anything, that could help me navigate the loneliness that had crept into my life. But instead of understanding, I was met with scorn. I remember the way her eyes rolled, the dismissal in her voice, as if I were nothing more than a burden. Before I continue, tell me in the comments what city you're watching from. I want to know how far my story reaches. In that moment, I felt invisible, like a ghost haunting the edges of her life. I had spent years pouring my heart into raising her, nurturing her dreams, and supporting her through life's trials. Yet here I was, at my lowest point, feeling abandoned and ashamed. It's a cruel twist of fate when the very person you've devoted your life to becomes the source of your deepest pain. As I sit here, the shadows of my past swirl around me, reminding me of the injustices I've faced. I've always been the one to put others first, to shoulder burdens that weren't mine to carry. But what about my burdens? What about the weight of my own struggles? My life has been a tapestry, woven with threads of neglect and sorrow, and I can't help but wonder if I've been too invisible for too long. I think back to my childhood, a time when I felt the sting of abandonment for the first time. My parents were wrapped up in their own world, consumed by their struggles, leaving me to navigate the complexities of life alone. I remember the long, lonely nights spent waiting for them to come home, the silence of our house echoing louder than any argument they had. I learned early on that love was conditional, that affection was something to be earned rather than given freely. As I grew older, I tried to fill that void with friendships, with relationships that often left me feeling more alone than before. I wanted to be seen, to be heard, but it felt like I was shouting into a void. The more I reached out, the more I was met with indifference. I became accustomed to being overlooked, to feeling like a ghost in my own life. Then came motherhood. I thought that maybe, just maybe, this would be my chance to rewrite my story. I poured every ounce of love I had into my daughter, hoping to give her the childhood I never had. I wanted her to know that she was cherished, that she was worth every sacrifice I made. But as she grew, I began to see the same indifference reflected back at me. I remember the first time she rolled her eyes at me, dismissing my advice as if it were nothing more than an annoying fly buzzing around her head. It stung, but I brushed it off, convincing myself that it was just a phase. But the dismissals grew more frequent, and with each one, I felt a piece of my heart chip away. Now, here I am, grappling with the reality that my daughter, the very person I devoted my life to, sees me as a burden. I can't help but wonder if I've failed her, if I've somehow passed on the legacy of invisibility that has haunted me for so long. The thought twists in my stomach like a knife. As I sit here, I can't help but think of the photograph that sits on my mantle. It's an old, faded picture of our family, taken on a summer day that feels like a lifetime ago. We were all smiles, laughter frozen in time, but beneath that surface, there were cracks waiting to form. I can almost hear the laughter, the warmth of that day, but it's quickly overshadowed by the reality of our present. That photograph holds more than just memories. It holds secrets, stories untold. It's a reminder of the love that once filled our home, but also of the pain that has seeped into every corner. I find myself drawn to it, as if it holds the key to understanding my daughter's resentment, to unraveling the mystery of our fractured relationship. I can't shake the feeling that there's something deeper at play, something that ties us together in ways I've yet to comprehend. I've spent so long trying to be the perfect mother, trying to shield her from the pain of my past, that I may have inadvertently created a wall between us. I begin to wonder if my attempts to protect her have only served to push her away. Memories flood back, moments that seemed insignificant at the time, but now feel like pieces of a larger puzzle. I remember the times I tried to share my experiences with her, hoping she would understand the lessons I learned. But each time, her eyes would glaze over, and I would retreat, feeling more like a burden than a guide. The more I reflect, the more I realize that my daughter's shame towards me is rooted in her own fears and insecurities. Perhaps she sees my struggles as a reflection of her own potential failures. I can't blame her for that. We live in a world that often equates worth with success, and I've had my share of failures. But I wish she could see that vulnerability is not a weakness. It's a testament to our humanity, a reminder that we are all in this together. As I sit here, the photograph beckons me, urging me to confront the past. I feel a surge of determination rising within me. I need to understand the story behind that picture, the emotions that linger just beneath the surface. I need to know why my daughter feels the way she does, why she sees me as someone who is too needy. I take a deep breath, steeling myself for the journey ahead. I'm ready to unravel the mystery, to dig deep into the layers of our relationship. I want to understand the pain that has shaped us both, the injustices that have left scars on our hearts. I know it won't be easy, but I'm willing to face the darkness if it means finding a way back to the light. In the coming days, I will delve into the memories that have shaped my life, the moments that have defined my relationship with my daughter. I will confront the secrets that have lingered in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves. I'm determined to break the cycle of invisibility that has plagued our family for generations. As I sit here, I can feel the flicker of hope igniting within me. There's a part of me that believes we can mend what has been broken, that we can find a way to reconnect. I want my daughter to see me not as a burden, but as a woman who has fought against the odds, someone who has learned to rise from the ashes of her past. I know it won't happen overnight, but I'm ready to take the first step. I want to show her that even in our darkest moments, we can find strength in vulnerability, that we can learn to lean on one another. I want to rewrite our story, to transform the pain of our past into a narrative of hope and resilience. As I close my eyes, I can almost hear the whispers of the past calling out to me, urging me to uncover the truth. I'm ready to embark on this journey, to confront the shadows that have haunted us for too long. It's time to reclaim my voice, to remind my daughter that she is not alone in this world. Together, we can face the darkness and emerge stronger than ever. The path ahead may be fraught with challenges, but I refuse to let fear hold me back. I will dig deep, unearthing the memories that have shaped us, and I will share them with my daughter. I want her to know that even in our struggles, we can find a way to heal, to forgive, and to love. I can feel the weight of the world beginning to lift, replaced by a sense of purpose. I'm ready to face the truth, to confront the injustices that have shaped our lives. I'm ready to rewrite our story, to transform the pain of our past into a narrative of hope and resilience. And as I prepare to take that leap, I can't help but wonder what lies ahead. What secrets will I uncover? What truths will be revealed? Only time will tell, but I'm ready to embrace the journey, to face the unknown with courage and determination. I know that this is just the beginning, a small step towards healing the wounds that have festered for too long. But I'm hopeful that by sharing my story, I can inspire others to confront their own struggles, to find strength in vulnerability, and to never give up on hope. So here I am, ready to embark on this journey of discovery, ready to confront the shadows of my past and share my truth. I hope you'll join me as I unravel the mystery of my relationship with my daughter, and together we can find a way to heal and rebuild our bond. I often find myself lost in the echoes of my past, where the shadows of abandonment loom large, and the weight of neglect feels like a heavy cloak I can't shake off. It's a pain I've carried for so long that sometimes I wonder if it's become a part of me. As I sit here reflecting on my journey, I can't help but think about the moments that shaped my life, the injustices that left scars on my heart, and the relentless feeling of invisibility that has haunted me. Growing up, I was the quiet girl, the one who blended into the background like a faded photograph. My parents, busy with their own lives, often overlooked my presence. I remember the days when I would sit alone at the kitchen table, waiting for my mother to notice me, to ask me about my day. But her attention was always elsewhere, focused on my siblings or the endless chores that piled up like the dust on the shelves. I learned early on that my voice was insignificant, that my needs were secondary to the demands of the household. As I grew older, this feeling of neglect only intensified. I sought validation in the wrong places, often finding myself in friendships that felt more like a desperate grasp for connection than genuine companionship. I remember one friend in particular, Sarah, who seemed to understand me in ways no one else did. We would spend hours talking about our dreams and fears, our laughter echoing in the empty hallways of our school. But even that friendship had its limits. When Sarah started dating, I felt the familiar pang of abandonment creep in again. It was as if I was destined to be left behind, a mere spectator in the lives of those around me. As I transitioned into adulthood, the cycle of invisibility continued. I married young, thinking that perhaps a partner would finally see me, would finally acknowledge my existence. But as the years went by, I found myself in a marriage that mirrored my childhood. My husband, though well-meaning, was often preoccupied with work, leaving me feeling isolated and alone. I poured my heart into our home, into raising our children, but I still felt that familiar sting of being unseen. My dreams faded into the background, overshadowed by the demands of family life. When my daughter was born, I hoped that this time would be different. I wanted to be the mother who saw her child, who listened and nurtured. But as she grew, I found myself repeating the patterns of my past. I was so focused on being the perfect mother that I neglected to care for myself. I remember the late nights spent rocking her to sleep, the endless days filled with playdates and school projects, all while my needs slipped further away. I thought I was doing everything right, but deep down, I felt the familiar pang of neglect creeping back in. As my daughter entered her teenage years, the distance between us grew. I tried to be the supportive mother, but it felt like I was speaking a different language. She was blossoming into her own person, and I struggled to keep up. The conversations that once flowed so easily became strained, filled with misunderstandings and frustration. I often found myself retreating to my room, feeling the weight of my failures as a mother. I longed for her to see me, to recognize the sacrifices I had made, but it felt like I was shouting into a void. Then came the day when everything changed. I had finally decided to seek help. After years of feeling lost and invisible, I reached out to a therapist, hoping to unravel the tangled threads of my past. I wanted to understand why I felt so disconnected from my daughter, why I felt like a ghost in my own life. But when I shared my decision with her, the reaction was not what I had hoped for. "Mom, you're being ridiculous," she said, her voice laced with frustration. "You don't need help, you just need to get over it." The words cut deeper than any knife. In that moment, I felt the weight of her shame, the judgment that I was somehow less than worthy of seeking support. It stung, a reminder of all the times I had felt dismissed and overlooked. I tried to explain, to share the turmoil that had been brewing within me, but my words fell flat. It was as if I was speaking a language she couldn't understand. "Why can't you just be strong?" she continued, her eyes narrowing. "You're my mom. You're supposed to have it all together." Her words echoed in my mind long after our conversation ended. I felt small, like a child again, desperate for approval, but faced with the harsh reality of rejection. In that moment, I realized that my daughter didn't see me as a person with struggles. She saw me as a burden. The shame of needing help consumed me, and I retreated into myself, feeling the familiar darkness close in around me. Days turned into weeks, and I found myself spiraling further into despair. I stopped attending therapy, convinced that my daughter was right, that I was being foolish for seeking help. I buried myself in the mundane tasks of daily life, trying to distract myself from the pain. But the truth was, I felt more invisible than ever. I longed for connection, for understanding, but it seemed like an impossible dream. Then, one rainy afternoon, while cleaning out a box of old photographs, I stumbled upon a faded image that took my breath away. It was a picture of my mother and me taken on my 5th birthday. I could see the joy in my young face, the love radiating from my mother's smile. But as I looked closer, I noticed something that sent chills down my spine. In the background, there was a shadowy figure, a man I had never seen before. My heart raced as I felt a surge of curiosity mixed with dread. Who was he? Why had he been there on such a significant day? The photograph became an obsession. I found myself returning to it time and time again, searching for answers that felt just out of reach. I began to dig through the boxes of family memories, hoping to uncover more clues about that mysterious figure and the secrets that seemed to linger in the shadows of my family's history. Each photograph told a story, but none revealed the truth I was desperately seeking. As I sifted through the memories, I couldn't help but feel a sense of urgency. The more I uncovered, the more I realized that my family had been built on a foundation of secrets and unspoken truths. I found letters hidden away, filled with words of love and longing, but also of pain and regret. It was as if each piece of the puzzle was leading me closer to a revelation that could change everything. One evening, after a particularly long day, I decided to confront my daughter again. I needed her to understand the depths of my struggle, to see beyond the surface of our relationship. I invited her to sit with me, the faded photograph resting on the table between us. "Can we talk?" I asked, my voice trembling. "There's something I need you to see." She hesitated, her eyes darting to the photograph. "What is it, Mom? I don't have time for another one of your stories." "This isn't just a story," I replied, my heart racing. "It's about us, about our family, about the things we don't talk about." Reluctantly, she sat down, crossing her arms defensively. I took a deep breath, gathering my thoughts. I found this photograph, and it made me realize how much we've both been carrying. I've been invisible in my own life, and I don't want you to feel the same way. She glanced at the photograph, her expression softening slightly. "What does this have to do with me?" "It has everything to do with you," I said, my voice breaking. "I've spent so much time trying to be the perfect mother that I forgot to be a real person. I've been ashamed of needing help, and I don't want you to feel that way too. We're both struggling, and it's okay to admit that." For a moment, silence hung heavy in the air. I could see the conflict in her eyes, the battle between wanting to understand and wanting to push me away. But then, something shifted. She reached for the photograph, her fingers tracing the outline of my younger self. "I've never seen this before," she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "Who is that man?" "I don't know," I admitted, feeling the weight of uncertainty. "But I want to find out. I want to understand my past so that we can build a better future together." Tears welled in her eyes as she looked at me, and for the first time in a long while, I felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe this was the moment we could begin to heal, to confront the shadows that had long haunted us. I reached across the table, taking her hand in mine, feeling the warmth of connection that had been missing for so long. "I need you to know that I love you," I said, my voice steady. "And I want us to face this together. We can uncover the truth, and in doing so, we can find our way back to each other." As we sat there, hand in hand, I could feel the walls between us beginning to crumble. It wouldn't be easy, but I was ready to confront the past, to unravel the secrets that had kept us apart. I wanted my daughter to see me not as a burden, but as a woman who had fought against the odds, someone who had learned to rise from the ashes of her past. The journey ahead was uncertain, but I was filled with a sense of purpose. I wanted to show her that even in our darkest moments, we could find strength in vulnerability, that we could learn to lean on one another. Together, we could rewrite our story, transforming the pain of our past into a narrative of hope and resilience. And as I prepared to take that leap, I couldn't help but wonder what lies ahead. What secrets would we uncover? What truths would be revealed? Only time would tell, but I was ready to embrace the journey, to face the unknown with courage and determination. If my story touched you, subscribe to the channel and share it so more people never give up on hope. I held the photograph tightly in my hands, feeling the weight of its significance. The edges were worn, the colors faded, yet it pulsed with life, a silent witness to the years that had passed. As I sat across from my daughter, I could see the curiosity in her eyes, the way she leaned forward, eager yet hesitant to delve into the mystery that surrounded us. "Let's find out who he is," she said, her voice steadying as she wiped away the tears that had threatened to spill over. "I want to understand your past, Mom. I want to understand you." Her words wrapped around me like a warm blanket, and for the first time in a long while, I felt the icy grip of shame begin to thaw. It was as if we were standing on the precipice of something monumental, the air charged with both fear and anticipation. I took a deep breath, trying to steady my racing heart. "Okay," I replied, my voice trembling. "But we have to promise to be honest with each other. No more hiding." She nodded, and together we began to explore the fragments of my past. We started with the few names I could remember, the faces that flickered in my mind like old film reels. I recalled my childhood home, the creaking floorboards, and the smell of my mother's perfume lingering in the air. I remembered the laughter that echoed through the halls, a sound that had long since faded into silence. "Do you remember your grandmother?" my daughter asked, her voice tinged with curiosity. I closed my eyes, allowing the memories to wash over me. "She was a strong woman, your great-grandmother. She had a fire in her that lit up the room, but she also had her secrets. I never knew much about her past, only that she had come from a place of pain." "What kind of pain?" I hesitated, the words catching in my throat. "She lost her family during the war. They were taken from her, just like that." I snapped my fingers, the sound echoing in the quiet room. "She raised me alone, and I think that's where my fear of abandonment began. I always felt like I had to prove I was worthy of love, that I wouldn't be left behind." My daughter listened intently, her eyes wide with understanding. "And did you ever feel like you were?" "Yes," I admitted, the truth spilling out like a long-held breath. I felt invisible, like I was always standing in the shadows, watching everyone else live their lives. I wanted to be seen, to be heard, but I didn't know how to ask for it. As we continued to sift through the remnants of my past, I felt a sense of urgency growing within me. The photograph was more than just a piece of paper. It was a key that could unlock the door to my history, to the truths I had buried deep within. I needed to find out who that man was, the one who had shared a moment of joy with my younger self. "Let's start with the town records," I suggested, my heart racing with excitement. "Maybe we can find some clues there." My daughter agreed, and together we set out on a quest to piece together the puzzle of my life. We drove to the local library, the familiar streets stirring up a whirlwind of memories. I pointed out the places that had shaped me: the diner where I had my first job, the park where I had played as a child, and the small bookstore that had been my sanctuary. As we entered the library, the smell of old books enveloped us, a comforting embrace that felt like home. We approached the reference desk, where a kind librarian greeted us with a warm smile. "What can I help you with today?" she asked, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. "We're looking for information on my family," I said, my voice steady despite the nerves bubbling beneath the surface. "Specifically, I'm trying to find out about a man in this photograph." I slid the picture across the desk, watching the librarian's expression shift from curiosity to intrigue. "Let me see what I can find," she said, taking the photograph gently in her hands. "This looks like it could be from a long time ago." As she began to search through the archives, my daughter and I exchanged glances, a shared sense of purpose igniting between us. We were no longer just mother and daughter, we were partners on a journey to uncover the truth. It felt like hours passed as we waited, the anticipation building with each passing moment. Finally, the librarian returned, a stack of papers in her hands. "I found a few things that might be helpful," she said, laying the documents on the table. "It seems your family has quite a history in this town." I leaned forward, my heart racing as I scanned the pages. There were names I recognized, stories that intertwined with my own. But then I saw it, a name that sent a jolt of recognition through me. "Here," I said, pointing to a name on the page. "This is him. This is the man from the photograph." My daughter leaned in closer, her eyes widening. "Who is he?" "His name was Thomas," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. "He was my first love." The revelation hung in the air, heavy with unspoken emotions. I could feel the weight of the past pressing down on me, the memories flooding back like a tidal wave. I remembered the way he had smiled at me, the way my heart had raced whenever he was near. "But why is he in your photograph?" my daughter asked, her curiosity piqued. I took a deep breath, trying to gather my thoughts. We were young and foolish, dreaming of a life together. But life had other plans. I lost touch with him after I moved away, and I never knew what happened to him. "Maybe he's still around," my daughter suggested, her voice filled with hope. "We could try to find him." The thought sent a thrill through me, a spark of excitement igniting in my chest. Yes, let's do it. I need to know what happened to him. As we left the library, the photograph felt heavier in my hands, a tangible connection to the past that I had long since buried. I could sense my daughter's excitement, her determination mirroring my own. Together, we were embarking on a journey that would not only uncover the truth about Thomas, but also bring us closer together. The days turned into weeks as we scoured the internet, searching for any trace of him. We posted in local forums, reached out to old friends, and even contacted local historians. Each lead felt like a thread that could unravel the tapestry of my past, and I clung to the hope that we would find him. But as the days turned into weeks, the weight of uncertainty began to settle in. I found myself questioning whether I was ready to confront the ghosts of my past. Would I be able to face the choices I had made? Would I be able to look Thomas in the eye after all these years? One evening, as we sat together at the dining table, my daughter broke the silence. "Mom, I know this is hard for you, but I think it's important that we find him, not just for you, but for us." Her words pierced through the fog of doubt that had begun to cloud my mind. "You're right," I said, my voice trembling. "I need to do this. I need to face my past so we can move forward." As we continued our search, I felt a sense of urgency building within me. The photograph was no longer just a memory. It had become a symbol of hope, a reminder that the past could be rewritten. I wanted to show my daughter that it was never too late to seek the truth, to confront the shadows that had haunted us for so long. One afternoon, as I was combing through old newspaper articles, I stumbled upon a familiar name. "Look," I exclaimed, my heart racing. "I think I found him." My daughter rushed over, her excitement palpable. "What does it say?" "He moved to a neighboring town," I said, my voice barely containing the tremor of hope. "And he opened a small business, a bakery." Maybe we should go visit, she suggested, her eyes shining with enthusiasm. I hesitated, the weight of my past pressing down on me. What if he doesn't want to see me? What if he's moved on? Or what if he's been waiting for you? She countered gently. You'll never know unless you try. Her words resonated deep within me, igniting a flicker of courage I hadn't felt in years. You're right, I said, determination flooding my veins. Let's go. The following weekend, we made the drive to the neighboring town, my heart racing with anticipation and fear. As we approached the bakery, a quaint little shop adorned with pastel colors and a welcoming sign, I felt a wave of nostalgia wash over me. Are you ready? My daughter asked, her hand resting on my shoulder. I took a deep breath, steadying myself. As ready as I'll ever be. Together, we stepped inside, the aroma of freshly baked bread enveloping us like a warm hug. The shop was bustling with customers, laughter and chatter filling the air. But my eyes were drawn to the man behind the counter, his back turned to us as he expertly decorated a cake. "Excuse me," my daughter called, her voice cutting through the noise. He turned, and my heart stopped. Time seemed to stand still as our eyes met, a flood of memories crashing over me like a tidal wave. He looked older, of course, but the spark in his eyes remained, a flicker of recognition igniting between us. "Thomas?" I whispered, barely able to breathe. He blinked, surprise etched across his face. "Is that really you?" The world around us faded away as we stood there, suspended in time. All the years, all the pain, melted away in that moment. "I can't believe it's been so long," I said, my voice trembling with emotion. He stepped closer, a smile breaking across his face. "You haven't changed a bit." The warmth of his words wrapped around me, and for the first time in years, I felt seen. The weight of my past began to lift, replaced by the possibility of healing. "Can we talk?" I asked, my heart racing. "Of course," he replied, gesturing toward a small table in the corner. As we sat down, I could feel my daughter's presence beside me, a comforting reminder that I was not alone. We spent hours reminiscing, sharing stories of our lives, our joys, and our heartaches. "I never forgot you," he admitted, his eyes searching mine. "I always wondered what happened to you." "I thought about you too," I confessed, the weight of my words hanging heavy in the air. "I never knew how to reach out after I left." He nodded, understanding flickering in his gaze. "Life has a way of pulling us in different directions, doesn't it?" "Yes," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. "But I'm here now. I want to know you again." As we talked, I could feel the walls I had built around my heart beginning to crumble. The shame, the fear of abandonment, it all started to fade away, replaced by a sense of belonging that I had longed for. When we finally parted ways, I felt lighter, as if a weight had been lifted from my shoulders. My daughter and I walked to the car, the sun setting behind us, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink. "Mom, that was amazing," she said, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "I'm so proud of you." "Thank you," I replied, my heart swelling with gratitude. "I couldn't have done it without you." As we drove home, I realized that this journey had not just been about uncovering the truth of my past. It had been about healing the wounds that had kept me from truly living. I had faced my fears, confronted the ghosts that had haunted me, and emerged stronger than ever. In the weeks that followed, I continued to nurture my relationship with Thomas, rekindling the connection we once shared. But more importantly, I focused on my relationship with my daughter. We spent time together, sharing our hopes and dreams, and slowly but surely, the bond between us began to strengthen. One evening, as we sat on the porch, watching the stars twinkle above us, I took her hand in mine. "I want you to know how much you mean to me," I said. "You've helped me face my past, and in doing so, you've shown me that it's never too late to start anew." She smiled, her eyes shining with love. I love you, Mom. I'm so glad we're on this journey together. And in that moment, I felt a sense of peace wash over me, a quiet assurance that no matter what challenges lay ahead, we would face them together. The past no longer held power over me. It had become a part of my story, a chapter that had shaped who I was but did not define me. As I looked up at the stars, I felt a renewed sense of hope. I knew that the journey ahead would not always be easy, but I was ready to embrace it, to continue uncovering the truths that lay hidden in the shadows. If my story touched you, subscribe to the channel and share it so more people never give up on hope.